I have personally learned twice that you need to have those rollers on your garage door looked at and maintained annually, because those cords will come off the roller and your garage door will crash on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, it happened to me in 2 houses.
Oh, no.
Both were a year old.
Oh, my gosh. Well, welcome. Today we have Kerry Ward, and she is with Darr Schackow Insurance, and she is here to talk to us about all things insurance, and I'm very excited to have her on. Kerry, did I get your title correct? You're an agent with Darr Schackow?
Yeah,
okay. How long have you been with them?
I've been with them for 17 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
so you know some things.
A few.
You know a few things.
Yeah, we hope so.
And Darr Schackow is here in Gainesville, Florida. And so very familiar with what's going on with the state and, you know, with all the insurance issues that we're having around the state. So we can just like dive right in, because I'm sure the listeners want to know about their home insurance and what's going to happen with that. So give us some information about the current state of the insurance industry or market.
So the one thing I hear every day, all day, is my premium went up. And yes, they have tremendously in all lines of insurance, home, auto, even in the commercial world. You'll see condo association premiums have gone up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So yes, they have. In the past 3 years, my own has increased by 150%.
Oh my gosh.
And my home is relatively new.
Wow.
Which is what they tend to like. Last year, we were seeing an average increase of about 50%, and the year prior to that as well. This year has been better. I think that we're going to start to see it stabilize a little bit.
Good.
Those rate increases are more like in the 10 to 20% range.
Okay.
Which is sad that we're like, yay.
Exactly. I know.
You know, previous to all of this stuff happening, your average rate increase was like 5 to 8%.
Wow.
And that seemed to be kind of normal. So now our new normal is 10 to 20.
Yeah. And so when did these major increases start?
It started about 3 years ago.
Okay.
A few things happened several years before that, especially in the water restoration industry.
Okay.
And when I speak about these topics, when it comes to water restoration and roofing companies, I'm not referring to our local companies here.
Oh, okay.
Our local companies are very good, honest companies. I'm talking about things that happen more in South Florida.
Got it.
Roofing companies that tend to travel from other cities and drop people off to knock on doors. So I'm not talking about our local people that we know and do business with every day. They are not our problem. So prior to 3 years ago, we had a lot of water restoration claims in South Florida where basically they were just overcharging the insurance company. So you have a small leak, your dishwasher leaks, and now suddenly they want to go remodel the entire kitchen. So what should only cost $5,000 or $10,000 to repair ends up costing $60,000 to repair. And then they just get in kind of a war with the insurance company, because the insurance company is like, no, we think that's too much.
Yeah.
And they go, well, we're going to hire our attorney. And then the insurance company is, okay, fine, we'll just pay it because it's cheaper than getting an attorney.
Wow.
So that's kind of where it started 3 years ago. Same thing with the roofs. Once these roofs start to reach that 15-year window and you have a hailstorm roll through, they'll start knocking on doors and saying, hey, did you know I can get you a free roof? And same thing, you know, roofer says there's hail damage, insurance company says there isn't, roofer says I'll get an attorney. Insurance company is okay, fine. Then we had the pandemic. Then we had the delay of materials and production and just the overall inflation cost of all of those things. So that's how we got there. A lot of things just happened in a short period of time, and then it hit us all at one time as far as rating wise goes.
Gotcha. So I've heard, you know, and a lot of people have heard that insurance companies are just leaving Florida in droves. Does that then encourage the ones that are staying to just drive up these premiums because they can?
I don't know if that's necessarily what happens, but it definitely limits competition for sure.
Yeah.
I think now that things are stabilizing a little bit and we're starting to see some carriers come back.
Oh, okay.
And we've had some new carriers open that will provoke competition.
Mhm.
So we'll probably see it at least stay where it is. I don't know if we'll see drastic decreases.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is a lack of competition right now.
Yeah, no,
sure.
there definitely is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's not a lot.
it's crazy. So, places like, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Citizens is the one that issues, like, they do flood insurance, or they're requiring flood insurance from people who have wind mitigation or wind.
Citizens Property Insurance is the state-funded insurance company.
Mhm.
So that means if you can't get insurance from a State Farm or a Nationwide or whoever's actively writing in Florida right now, for whatever reason, whether it's because you have claims history or you have bad dog breeds or
Oh,
whatever reason you're not insurable, then
uh-huh.
you can go to Citizens. It's the insurer of last resort,
Okay.
funded by us. We all pay into this pool for this program.
The Citizens.
To Citizens, that's why
That's why it's called that. There
Funny
you go.
how years ago it used to be called the Florida Residential Joint Underwriting Association,
Oh my gosh.
FRJUA. So
I'll
us
take-
old agents will still call it JUA. So changing to Citizens was a much better option.
Yeah. No, I would
Yeah,
think so.
very basic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what that is. So they don't do flood insurance though. Flood insurance is written through the National Flood Insurance Program.
Right. Yeah.
So also a government thing, but nationally.
Okay.
So those are separate. So you'll buy your home, like your hazard and your wind, through Citizens, and then your flood is a separate policy.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, as of April of last year, if you are in an A flood zone in the state of Florida and you're insured by Citizens, you are required to have flood insurance.
Okay.
So that's probably what you've heard about in the news a lot.
Yeah, I was reading about it and about how companies, that have, they're requiring flood insurance for anybody who has wind coverage is what I read. And I could be completely wrong on that one. Or, the article I was reading could have been wrong, but that's what I had read. And I thought, wow, if you have wind coverage, is that only a South Florida thing? Because we have wind coverage here, don't we?
Yeah. So yeah, you probably read that, but the majority of Citizens, they do have wind coverage.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
There's a very small, like, coastal areas where you can have an X-wind policy. So wind is excluded, but that's very limited spaces along the coast, mainly in South Florida.
Okay.
But for the most part, everybody has wind coverage on their Citizens policy,
Okay.
especially here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
So then what they also said was over time, they're going to start requiring those not in that A zone.
Okay.
So those who are not in this hazardous zone, like probably you and me,
Yeah.
to have flood also. But they're scaling it. So January of this year, if your home is insured with Citizens and the dwelling coverage is 600,000 or higher, you have to have it.
Oh, wow.
Next January, if your house is insured for 500,000 or higher, then you have to have it. The following January, 400,000, and then 2027, every other house.
Wow.
So not everyone has to have flood right now. It just depends on the value of your home.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, still, if you're, as we sell more and more homes here, or as inventory gets tighter and tighter, home prices are going up significantly. And so, I know the average price isn't at 500 yet, but we do have a lot of $500,000 and above homes. So, and you're saying that by 2025 or 26, 500 and over.
500,000.
Yeah, 500,000. So that's, that's going to impact a lot of people.
Well, it may if there was Citizens. So
right. Well, okay. If there were Citizens.
So they're only going to be with Citizens if there's a reason why they need to be there.
Okay. Yeah.
And a lot of
true.
our homes here of that value, I feel like, are newer construction.
Yeah.
So unless they have some terrible claims history from their previous house in Texas, they're probably not going to be with Citizens.
Yeah. I'm concerned about the ones around the university, though, because a lot of those are with Citizens, and a lot of them have increased in value significantly just from their proximity to the university.
Right.
So that's going to impact probably a few people.
I'm thinking and hoping, just from how I've watched these cycles work, that by the time 2025 and 26 come around, we're going to have new players in the game, and we're going to have more competition, and we're going to have other places to put those people.
Okay, good.
I feel like this is a temporary situation.
Okay, well, good.
We went through this back after 2004 and 2005, when we had those 8 come through in 2 years.
Yep.
A lot of carriers bowed out, and we went through this whole citizens thing for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And then I didn't write a citizens policy again until a year and a half ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. My goodness.
So I'm hopeful that we won't have to worry about the flood issue.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully, yeah.
I could be totally wrong.
No,
but
well, I mean, you
historically
don't have a crystal
speaking,
ball, but you have experience, and
Yeah.
so you're speaking from that, and
Yeah.
that's all you can go
Right.
on, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I've got people from South Florida, lots of people from South Florida moving up here, and they're always concerned about insurance rates here because they're so high in South Florida.
Yeah.
Where are we in comparison? Like, let's say you do have, I don't know, an $800,000 house or something, because South Florida has higher prices.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're going by that, and they're buying maybe equivalent properties here. They want to know what their insurance will be like, here compared to there.
Right.
So can you speak to that, or?
I can. So I worked in Palm Beach County for 5 years before I came here. And whenever I left there in 2005, premiums were running about 1% of the dwelling coverage.
Okay.
Today, they're probably more like 7 or 8% of the dwelling coverage.
Oh my gosh.
Here, now we're starting to see more of that 1 to 2%
Okay.
in dwelling coverage. So that's probably a good idea. I can tell you all of my clients who've moved to South Florida, whenever I show them what they're going to be paying here, have all been happy.
Yeah. Oh, I know
Yes.
that. I know they're always happy.
They're always like
wondering.
really surprised. Yes. They all come. They all think that Citizens is the only option and it's going to be $10,000. And I'm like, no, that's not what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, yeah. It's so much.
So it's very expensive. I still have friends who are agents down there, and they tell me about some of the renewals they come across, and they'll have a $2 million house on Miami Beach, and their renewal's $50,000, $75,000.
That's
ridiculously
crazy
expensive.
Yes, because I know a $2 million house here definitely does not have that kind of insurance.
Mm-mm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So that's an
It's a lot.
advantage of living up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have fewer flood zones,
Fewer flood zones.
and
Rates are lower.
People
are friendly.
Yeah, and people are friendly. No, there are lots of advantages of living here, but insurance is definitely one of them.
Mm-hmm.
What other changes are predicted to happen, with our insurance? I mean, we've had this change in the last 3 years. What are you seeing happening right now?
I'm hoping we're not going to have many more changes.
Okay.
They changed the law last December, I think. I think it's last December. Sometimes I get my years mixed up because they're just going too fast at the moment.
They're going. I sometimes,
A lot happened all at one time.
It was 2 years ago. It was really in
I think
2019.
it was last December. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they used to have what they called one-way attorney fees.
Okay.
So if you weren't happy with your offer, your claim
Mhm.
offer from your insurance company, and you wanted to sue them,
Mm-hmm.
and you go to court and you lose,
Mm-hmm.
they agree that the insurance company is correct. That's what they're going to pay.
Right.
The insurance company still had to pay your attorney fees and their own.
Oh.
So
Okay.
there was nothing to deter people from suing. Like, why not? Let's just
Sure.
see if it sticks to the wall.
Yeah.
So they eliminated that. So
Okay.
now if you want to sue your insurance company and you lose, you have to pay your attorney.
Okay.
So people will think a little bit harder before just jumping right in.
I would think so.
So that has helped a lot. I think that's why we've started to see some new carriers
Okay.
and why some might come back, because they won't be as scared
Okay.
of being sued. And I think that is going to help stop the changes.
That's good.
Yes, I think
That would
at
be
this point
fantastic.
we need to just deal with what we've had happen
Mm-hmm.
and stop changing things, and let's see how it all works out. And I think it will stabilize some.
Okay. Well, good.
But I don't anticipate anything drastic or crazy like the last couple of years. I hope.
Yeah. No, I hope so too. I'm
Yeah.
homeowners.
Right.
I hope so too.
Yeah, I think we're at the tail end of it.
Yeah. Well, good. So what would happen if some catastrophic hurricane hits south of here, because they don't hit here usually, and or in the past 25 years that I've lived here, nothing has really damaged us. I mean,
Right.
we did have 3 come through or 4 come through, which you mentioned earlier, but
Or-
they didn't really do much around here.
Right.
So would something like that in south of us cause our premiums to then suddenly shoot
Absolutely.
right back up?
Yes.
Okay.
So the other part of what creates your premium, your
Mhm.
homeowner's insurance premium, is reinsurance.
Mm-hmm.
So insurance companies buy insurance
Mm-hmm.
from these large companies like Lloyd's of London, Zurich of North America, things like that. So they buy their own insurance for those catastrophic events.
Mm-hmm.
Those reinsurance rates are made up of things that happen all over the world.
Okay.
So even a tsunami would
Yeah.
affect the reinsurance rate.
Okay.
Wildfires in California, mudslides in California, tornadoes out west,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things affect that reinsurance rate.
Okay.
Ian hitting the Sarasota area, but not us, will
Right.
impact our premium.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Lloyd's is paying out as a whole. And so whenever their costs go up, they pass it down to the insurance company, and then the insurance company passes it down to us.
Okay.
So yes, everything that happens throughout the world will impact our premium,
Okay.
even though we are here in just small Alachua County.
Okay. Well, I didn't know it was the whole world. I mean,
The whole world.
I always figured it was somewhere, like if it hit Florida,
No,
but
it's the whole world.
but the
yeah.
whole world, and yeah,
Mhm.
well, and natural disasters don't seem to be going away.
Nope.
They're getting worse,
And they're not predictable.
So I don't know. That's
yeah,
not good.
you can't take that to court and make a law about it.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. No, that's wild. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I didn't know. I really didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So to change gears altogether, I wanted, I've got a lot of people that I work with who are first-time buyers. Sometimes they're second-time buyers buying here versus somewhere else, in the country, and things are a little bit different here, based on everything that's gone on.
Right.
And so, can you walk me through the process? When people reach out to you, let's say we're under contract to purchase a home, tell me a little bit about not just the process, but what if the house is uninsurable? Like, what do we do then?
Right.
And why would it be uninsurable?
Yeah. Sometimes it's not, finding something uninsurable is rare. It's got to be pretty bad.
Okay, good.
But your typical first-time home buyer isn't going to buy something like that.
No.
So what you want to do is go ahead and schedule your inspections as soon as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
I like to start working on it as soon as they get their 4-point and their wind mitigation,
Okay.
assuming it's a little bit of an older home.
Yeah.
New construction, you don't need those for. But if they want to build, buy a house in Hale Plantation, built in 1985, go ahead and get your 4-point and your wind
Mhm.
mit, and let's look at it
Yeah.
and start there. And then I can let you know, oh, this might be a problem, or oh, there's some cloth wiring, or the
Yeah.
water heater's going to need replaced, or it has one of those bad electrical panels. A lot of that you can work through.
Okay.
You can negotiate and fix and replace.
Mm-hmm.
The big things that people don't always like to negotiate or replace are roofs.
Sure. Yeah.
The one thing that we have a really hard time insuring is if there's been previous sinkhole activity
Yeah.
or foundation repair. Maybe it wasn't even really a sinkhole, but it's
Yes.
had some foundation work to it. Those are really difficult. Insurance companies don't like those at all.
Yeah.
But the other things are you can usually work around.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, good.
figure out how to get it done.
Good. Good. Yeah. The foundation repair is a big deal for a lot of. It's it's sad. It's the houses that are more affordable because they've been pinned or whatever, and so they have to be sold for less money. The first time buyers can afford these houses, but then they can't obtain the insurance.
Right.
So we have to say, hey,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to do that, and even investors may not want to touch them. Obviously an investor who's paying cash may not have to have insurance, but most people
There's
do.
the whole resale part of it.
You're right. And for resale,
Yeah.
so that is a big deal. And that's something that, I like to point out to people, not to scare them, but just to tell them, these are the facts. And
Correct.
so the other thing, obviously the roof, nowadays it's 10 to 15 years. It has to be replaced.
Mhm.
And then is the water heater 10 years?
15.
15. Okay, good.
Yeah. Some will go up to 20 years if it's in the garage.
Okay.
But if it's inside the house, 15 seems to be the number.
Okay. Yeah. And that's because people were worried about water intrusion, or not intrusion, but
they explode.
Yeah. They explode.
And the water goes everywhere, like really, really fast.
Yeah. No bueno. Yeah, that's definitely, you don't want that.
No, it's really messy.
Oh, yeah.
It's costly, and you don't really want to have to deal with all that work being done in your house. It's not a fun environment to live in.
No, it's not fun to live through renovations and things like that. So
that's all these people in your house. And
exactly. Yeah. And it might take a while too to get contractors in there and all that. So you're living
take a little bit longer than normal these days.
Yes, it does. It takes a lot longer than normal these days. I think because of the new construction, we have all these people busy with that, and so they can't do the smaller jobs.
Right.
And water heater exploding is a smaller job for a lot of people. So but
just have your buyer get that inspection done as soon as they possibly can. And we can usually, if you have that 30 to 40 day closing timeline, there's time to work on whatever needs to be done before.
How quickly can you do it if we don't have a 30 to 40 day close? Let's say in this case it is a cash buyer and they can close in 2 to 3 weeks and the inspections are done right away. Can you work that fast? Work your magic that quickly?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I have a clean 4-point and they want to close tomorrow, we can do it right now.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, wonderful.
Don't want to make it sound like my job is super easy and I just press the button.
Right.
I don't like that scenario. I like to have a little bit more time. But,
sure.
Yeah, for sure. It can definitely be done within a couple of days.
Okay, wonderful. Well, that's good to know. One issue that some of the people I've worked with have had, and thus the houses have had trouble obtaining insurance, or they've had trouble obtaining insurance for their homes, is if they're not living in them because they're going to renovate them eventually. So I have one couple now. They purchased a house in an older home near the university. They did put a new roof on it right away because it needed, it wouldn't be insurable if they hadn't done that. But they are going to gut renovate the house and they're not living in the house. And so that was a problem for them. Now, is that a common thing that they have, since they're not in the dwelling? Is it harder to insure?
It is.
Okay.
But there are solutions for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
So a lot of carriers just don't have the market or the appetite for that.
Right.
So, your standard carriers that you heard of just offer a regular homeowners owner occupied product.
Right.
There are carriers that offer renovation products.
Okay.
Tower Hill has a great renovation product that is, they'll do replacement costs, so it will qualify.
Okay.
For loan purposes.
Good.
So it can be done.
And can it be for a really big, long time? Because like a renovation can last 2 years sometimes.
So I haven't had one last quite that long yet.
Okay.
The renovation, so the policies are typically annual.
Okay.
I've not reached one yet where we got to the end and they were like, oh no, we're not finished.
Okay.
To ask if we could renew it.
Okay.
I would imagine we probably could.
I would hope so.
I do have one house in Miami, builder's risk policy. So he started ground up.
Okay.
We are on the 3rd year of renewing that builder's risk.
Wow. Okay.
He's just faced some really unfortunate contractors.
Oh. Well.
And it's been really bad. So I have been able to renew this builder's risk policy.
Okay.
For 3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah.
Well, if it can be done in Miami,
he's so close to finish.
Hopefully, it can be done here too.
So I would think so. I would think that carriers can work with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the premium higher? I mean, is it?
If they qualify for that Tower Hill renovation one, no. It's pretty in line.
Okay. Well,
there's no water coverage.
Okay.
So they need to keep the water turned off when it's not being used.
Got it.
But it will cover it for fire and if it blows away and liability.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good.
The big important things.
Those are important things. And yes, you don't need water. You're not living there. So,
right. Yeah. Contractors might need to turn it on, here and there to do some things. But
Sure. Yeah. In this case, my client they've been working with an architect for a really long time, just getting the plans together.
Oh, wow.
And so they haven't been able to even start the renovation, and they're like a year and a half in.
Wow.
So that's where I was going with that,
Yeah.
because I know that they at first did have some issues obtaining insurance or finding something that would cover.
And I see how they did. Yeah.
A situation like that. Yeah.
I see how they did.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay. Well, that's good to know. So pretty much anything is insurable unless it's falling apart.
Unless it's dilapidated, we can usually get it done.
Okay. Well, that's good.
I rarely say no.
Yeah.
Like I'm one of those, I'm the yes queen. Like people know if Kerry said no, it's bad. Like if she's not willing to work on it, probably no one is.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know that you really work for the client and do everything possible, and if you say no, then something has to be done about the house.
Yeah. The biggest issue I run into is when the roof really needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
The seller really needs to be open to doing that.
Yeah. That's
my hardest hurdle right now is roof replacement after closing is not always a possibility.
Yeah. I've had a lot of people who've replaced it. The buyer has replaced it immediately after closing, like starting on day of closing. And so they had like a 30-day window or something like that in which to replace it. But their premium was higher during those 30 days or was higher during the first, I don't know how many days of ownership. And then once they had it inspected and the roof was fine, then it went back to a normal rate.
Different.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. We used to have carriers that would let us do it within 30 days. And then they would not let us do that during hurricane season, which made sense.
Of course, that makes sense.
So they're like, you can do it between November and May. But our carriers have kind of shut us off from that.
Okay.
Yeah. I have one option that I can do if it's not in disrepair.
Okay.
If it's just simply older.
Yeah.
But their rate is so high that most oftentimes it doesn't qualify for debt to income.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Explain that further, because a lot of people are not going to quite know what, if it qualifies for debt to income. So if like the person, the buyer, go on.
So that's kind of like a lender thing. So I hope I'm going to explain it correctly. My loan officer friends might listen and be like, she said that so wrong.
Well, that's we won't hold you to that part of it.
So when you're qualifying for your loan, you have to keep your expenses at a certain percentage of your income.
Right.
It's usually 30 or 40% or something like that. Some people they're tight. So if you're, if you need to be under 30% and you're at 28% and you're banking on a $1,200 annual homeowners insurance premium, but it's really going to be $3,800 because you want to replace that roof after closing, it's not going to fit that number anymore.
Got it.
While it's going to fit a month later, because we can go back to this $1,200 policy,
right?
It's all based off of those first numbers. That's what the underwriting lender is seeing.
Okay.
They're not looking at, okay, but maybe we're going to change it in a month. They're looking at what you're closing with.
Gotcha.
So that will sometimes put people in a situation where they're just not going to qualify anymore.
Okay. That's really important
to
know, especially, and I keep going back to the first time buyer, but usually they're the ones that are most strapped for cash.
Correct.
And so, it's just knowing that, up front.
It just depends on who your buyer is. If it's somebody moving from San Francisco.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
And this is the fifth house they've bought, and they're already just happy about the price they're paying for the house.
Exactly.
Which we think is like a lot.
Exactly.
They're going to be like, $3,800 is fine.
Right. Yeah, but their income's going to be higher, most likely. Their debt to income ratio won't be an issue at that point. So, yeah. Okay, well, that's very important. I'm glad you mentioned that.
So most things can be done.
Yeah.
It's always worth calling me and having a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's what I tell people. I'm like, call them up and call and ask, because first of all, you just need to know, right away. And oftentimes I have them call and ask even before the inspections are done, just to see if it would be possible to get insurance. Like if the house what would we need to negotiate, in other words, to get this house insured,
Right.
So if like the roof is super old, I mean, sometimes you look that up, and I'm not saying you in particular, but an insurance person will look that up and say, well, you really this needs to be replaced, just because it's 30 years old,
Right.
and there's no way you're going to
Right.
obtain insurance on that.
Yeah. And sometimes we can, like pre-look at it before inspections. I've noticed now a lot of real estate agents are putting that information in their MLS descriptions, which is wonderful. I love that.
Yes.
If all agents would put the water heater age and the roof age
Yes.
in their descriptions, that would be wonderful. So if that information is there and we can just see it really quickly, we can be like, oh, yeah, I need to negotiate the water heater, or, oh, yeah, I need to negotiate the roof.
Yeah.
There will be some things that we're just not going to see, like claims history. Sometimes claims pop up that sellers haven't disclosed, and that becomes another hurdle.
That is a hurdle.
Yeah. So that I won't see until we get further in the application process.
Got it. Yeah. Well, then that's something that you'll then share, with us, and, we can have a discussion at that point with the seller.
Yes.
So.
I always feel bad when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't had it happen like often,
I see it quite a bit, but I think it's just because people don't remember. I don't think people are,
I agree,
trying to withhold information at all.
Sure.
I think people just don't remember.
Yeah.
It's like when you're doing car insurance quotes, like, have you had any tickets or accidents in the last 3 years? Nope. Oh, okay. What about that one time in Georgia? Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Exactly.
Because people just don't remember.
Exactly.
They just forget. Like, it was no big deal. Oh, it was only a couple thousand. I just forgot about it.
Yeah. Well, especially if you've lived in a house for a long time, you tend to forget. Everything that happened.
You do a lot to it.
10 years ago, I'm like, I don't know,
I don't even paid for that.
I try to keep a list. Personally, I try to keep a list of everything, that I've done to my house.
Right.
And what year and, what was done and everything. But
you're in the industry.
But I'm in the industry. Exactly. And I see these issues.
Correct.
So I know, I got to keep track.
Right.
And, and it's something I guess I should advise more people to do, once they purchase the house, you might want to keep track
keep an
of
inventory,
everything.
like a maintenance record, like a lot of people do for their car.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it for your house too.
Do it for your house too.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
do at my house. We do an annual thing. So like we close in May.
Mm-hmm.
So every May is whenever we have the garage door looked at, and the water heater, and the roof. And I just, because I'm friends with home inspectors and roofers, so
Exactly.
it's easy for me to call them up. Can you come check everything out? Let me know if I need to do anything. So we just do like an annual happy birthday to the house.
That's great. That's great. Does doing stuff like that, help with your insurance?
No.
Okay. I just didn't know if, it helped maintain your insurance costs.
No,
lower
it doesn't.
Or something like
it
that.
may help you avoid a claim, which would help in the long run for sure.
Yeah.
But no, there's no discounts for being diligent.
Yeah.
Well,
home maintenance is very important.
it is. But I have personally learned twice that you need to have those rollers on your garage door looked at and maintained annually, because those cords will come off the roller and your garage door will crash on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, it happened to me in 2 houses.
Oh no.
Both were a year old.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, only me, I'm sure.
No, probably not only you. It's just you're talking about it, but it's probably happened to a lot of people.
There's just so many things about the house you don't even realize that you need to do.
It's true.
Especially like the wood rot around the window framing on the outside.
Yep.
Yeah, had those checked.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything that a home buyer should they send you the inspection report?
I do not want to see the whole home inspection.
Okay. And that's what I've always advised them.
Yeah.
We don't need to send an inspection report to the insurance company.
I don't want to see it.
Okay.
That tells you everything that could be wrong with the house.
Right.
And if you show that to an insurance underwriter, they're going to make you prove that you fixed everything.
Right.
So insurance underwriting is only going to ask you about the roof, the HVAC, the plumbing, and the electric.
Okay.
That's all you want to answer.
4 points.
They're 4 points.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've always
Good.
said, don't give more than what they ask for,
Exactly.
but answer what they ask truthfully.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Sometimes
So-
people will send me the whole report and I will just delete it.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you just ask for the 4-point?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. I had somebody do that by mistake. You know, like they just
Yeah.
we hadn't had the conversation yet about that, and they just immediately sent it off to the insurance, and we were like, no,
No, no,
they
don't
need
do
it.
that.
They don't need it. Yeah,
And it
so-
depends on whose hands it falls in.
Yeah.
You know, some of us will be like, no.
Right. Yeah.
And some will be like, let me read all 100 pages.
Yeah, exactly. And they did.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yep.
So yeah, it was unfortunate, but that was all right. Bygones, it worked out. We're fine.
Yeah,
So
sure
yeah,
did.
yeah. They sent it to the lender too.
Oh,
So
good.
yeah. Yeah.
They were trying to do the right thing.
They were
Yes.
really trying to do the
Totally
right thing,
understand.
just giving it to everybody. You know,
Mhm.
we were like, oh, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
But that's just one more thing I know. Can tell buyers. It's just you don't need to do that.
Yeah. And we have one insurance company where if it's a borderline risk where they
Mhm.
don't feel warm and fuzzy about it, they'll ask for the whole home inspection.
Uh huh.
And to me, that's just a no. Like, to me, that just means we don't really want this.
Right.
Let's just pass on it. So
Yeah.
I'll move on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've talked a lot about buyers. I have one last question. What can sellers do to make their house more sellable in terms of,
Yeah.
for insurance
So
purposes?
I think it would be great when somebody goes to sell their house that they go ahead and get a pre-inspection done.
Mhm.
Go ahead and get that 4-point done.
Yeah.
Maybe not the whole home inspection,
Okay.
but go ahead and get those 4 points done that
Yeah.
I'm going to look at later
Mm-hmm.
and say these things need to be addressed.
Yeah.
Do it on the front end. Go ahead and figure out what you're going to have to negotiate and
Yeah.
what's going to make it easier to get it insured. And if that means
Yeah.
you need to go ahead and get a new water heater, which, a water heater today is, I don't know, $1,800.
Yeah, it's not a
depending
lot.
on
It's under
who you,
2,000.
who you call. Like,
Yeah.
that's a simple fix. If you've got some cloth wiring in there,
Yeah.
usually if it's just, in the electrical panel and it's not all through the house, that's a pretty easy fix,
Sure.
like $700. So you can catch it on the front end.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So that's my best advice is whatever
I agree.
the seller is willing to go ahead and fix on the front end
Yeah.
and make it easier for the buyer to insure. It's going to make it much more attractive.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So,
But sometimes getting them to do a roof is hard.
yes. Yeah, it is. It's really hard because,
It's
especially
expensive.
if the inspector says that there isn't anything wrong with the roof except it's just old.
Yeah.
And then the seller really has a hard time wrapping, their head around that. It's like, well,
Yep.
why should I give you credit for this when,
Correct. And I would too.
I would too.
Yes.
I
That
understand completely.
makes sense.
Completely. I replaced my roof. My house was built in 2006, 2007, and I replaced my roof last year, was it? Just because I knew I had to, at that point. I'm not selling anytime soon, but I'm just saying,
I
it's
knew it
just-
was coming.
I knew it was coming. I knew the insurance company was going to say something about it, probably,
Right.
and so I didn't want to.
Go ahead and do it before it becomes more expensive.
More expensive, a bigger issue, whatever.
Right.
And plus then we can enjoy it while we live there.
Mhm.
And eventually when we sell,
Yeah, you're not doing
it'll
it for
still
somebody
have
else.
life in it, and
Right.
so it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that I haven't touched on that you came in here wanting to talk about?
No, I think that you did a great job. That's what I'm asked about the most is what happened? Why is my rate so high?
Yeah.
And how can I best get insurance?
Yeah.
Those are the 3 things that we talk about most often.
Okay. All right. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank
you
you.
so much for
having
being
me.
on the podcast and super informative. I'm sure the listeners are going to really appreciate all the information, from first time buyers all the way through, fifth home, but maybe coming from South Florida to Gainesville.
Yes.
And,
that's always a fun conversation.
And yeah.
And I like it. I will talk about insurance all day.
Oh,
So,
wonderful. Well, good. Then
if you
you're
ever
the
have
right
call
person.
or don't understand something I said or have more questions, I'm more than happy to talk to you about it.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, all right. Well, here's to a great podcast that we have with Kerry Ward, and we thank her for being on, and looking forward to the next one. So